What's the worst thing that has happened whilst you were kissing someone? For me, it was cold outside and snot started to build up, and yeah, it was gross. Had to wipe it off her face and she was absolutely disgusted. For a period of time, my nose would run every time I had sex with my wife. Apparently it's a thing called honeymoon rhinitis. There is erectile tissue in the nose that becomes engorged during sex. Not exactly the erectile tissue I wanted to engorge. We were making out in my room. Everything's getting hot, the good kind. So we take it to my bed, still lip locked. As soon as I put my back down on the bed, I got the worst feeling as she climbed on top of me. As her head tilted into position above mine, I felt a waterfall of saliva enter and nearly fill my mouth. From hers to mine. I tried to ignore it and keep macking out with this person, but my mouth was so full of saliva I didn't know what to do. So for about an extra 2 to 3 minutes I was making out with her awkwardly before we finally went further and unlocked out lips. We still had sex, and afterwards I never mentioned the spit data transfer that happened earlier. I think she knew, but we both didn't want to say anything about it because the moment we were having was so good. So did you swallow it? It's hard to describe, but we were walking slowly and she went in for our first kiss. My ankle went half on half off the sidewalk and I fell. We were holding hands, so I kind of dragged her off balance. It was summer and she was wearing sandals with a buckle on the side. She kicked her leg out to keep her balance. I was nearly already on the ground. The buckle caught my left eyelid. I bled like a stuck pig and got 2 stitches in my left eyelid. Speaking of eyes, I was kissing someone and simultaneously stroked their cheekbone in such a way that their eye fell out. It was a prosthetic eye, but still. So I'm meeting this girl I'd been dating. Had been going well. She's running a bit late cause of a march in town. So I get a coffee and a Twix. Few minimums later, she's there and we kiss, and suddenly she pulls away and touches her lip. Did you eat chocolate? Yeah, why? Immediately goes rummaging for medicine. Turns out she was allergic to cocoa powder and was about to swell up. Oops. One of my first girlfriends didn't know if she was lesbian or not, and we hadn't really done anything sexual or romantic until that point, and she brought it up. So we decided we'd try and have sex, so obviously like any gentleman we started with foreplay. She ducking threw up on my lips while we were kissing. I'm glad we didn't get to the tongue part, otherwise I'd have died then and there. I don't comment much, but this is my time to shine. Me and my buddy went to a club in Boston. Chatted up a couple of girls and asked if they wanted to take a ride in his brand new Mustang. They said yes, and our 20-year-old minds exploded. I was in the backseat with one of the girls, and the combination of the engine noise and definition leopard blaring on the stereo, this was the 90s, drove us to begin making out. It went from light kissing to extremely passionate kissing, until my buddy hit a giant pothole at 80 miles per hour. Thanks a lot, Boston. My teeth collided with ear. Broke her tooth. Like came out and into her mouth, which she nearly swallowed. So much blood. Between her panicked what the ducks and the tears, I didn't know what to do. I tried to kiss her again, because somehow in my horny ass brain I thought it would calm her down. And the kissing was so good she'd forget all about the fact that her tooth had been permanently removed from her mouth. Nope. She demanded to be let out of the car. Who knows where. I offered to stay with her and get a cab or something, but she wasn't having it. She looked at her friend who said, "Get home safe. I'll call you tomorrow." Have wondered for 22 odd years what happened to that girl. She was gorgeous. Lying in the park at the height of my adolescence with my ex-girlfriend. All happy and peaceful, we were kissing as the sun beamed down on this particular seaside town. A seagull shat on us, landed on her hair and my face. Killed the mood somewhat. Don't do PDA, kids. The girl I was making out with had a ton of garlic for lunch, and the smell/taste was super concentrated, to the point it could make one gag. But I stayed strong throughout the 30 minutes makeout session. It was an experience. Mutual toothbrushing is foreplay too. On a first date, we were just chilling on her bed talking after the brewery part of the date. I finally worked up the nerve to kiss her, and a little while into making out I just started laughing. I kept thinking about the funny shit we had been talking about for the last hour or two. Apparently, that's when she realized she really liked me, and now we are planning our future together. Many months later, I was in high school, just started dating this guy with braces. I walked to his home one day after school, we start making out, things were great, then all of a sudden blam, there is bacon in my mouth. I jumped up, and he looked very confused, but not as confused as I was. I spit the piece of bacon out, and he almost cried. He had it all stuck in his braces. Guy leans in for a kiss, and he kisses like a Labrador retriever. It was wet and slobbery, and so completely disgusting I excused myself, went to the toilet and actually threw up. No more dates. I relaxed too much while making out with a girl I had been making the moves on for months. Farted super loud. She was horrified and disgusted by the smell. Then she started laughing, farted louder than I did, and proceeded to run out of the room giggling. I was appalled. I was disturbed. We celebrate 7 years in November. I'm 31 and have full upper and lower dentures. Long story. I was on my first night out in 3 years, only 2 months into having my dentures. I bumped into a lad I had been seeing on and off over the years. It had been 3.5 years since we'd seen each other. We shared drinks, and I swear I've not barely laughed that much in a very long time. So it was mounting up to being one of the best nights of my life. We have a little kiss. We drink more. We kiss more. The kissing gets more intense with each drink, and I forgot about my teeth. With the next heated up intense kiss, I feel a pop on my upper palate, but my drunken mind couldn't function, and I didn't realize what had happened. I keep my eyes closed full on into this heated moment, and the guy pulls back. I opened my eyes slowly, expecting him to be looking at me with sheer lust, and see my lower denture hanging out of his mouth. I froze. When I say froze, I mean I froze and just stared. He slowly opened his mouth, so the denture dropped into his hands, and walked backwards, slowly placing them on the table. He pointed to my lap, and there was my upper denture having a nice rest from all the sloppy drunken tongue wrestling. Brain finally zooms into focus. I grabbed both dentures and run. I turned as I left the club, and he was just stood staring at the stool I'd been sat on. He messaged me about an hour later with a simple "the duck was that." I blocked him. I couldn't. I just couldn't. 4 months later, and I still have the odd face slappy moment when my brain decides I'm too comfortable and flashes the image into my mind. Also, friend doubled over through laughing so hard and peed herself with laughter and couldn't make it up the stairs to leave with me, so I had to hide round a corner until her persinikas managed to leave. So I went out on a date with the gorgeous girl, like I'm being serious. People had to look twice to take her beauty in. Anyways, after dinner I went to drop her off at her place, and she invited me in. I happily obliged, and as soon as we got on the couch we just started making out. All of a sudden I taste blood. I think to myself, why? I open my eyes to recoup, and Lord and behold, I somehow managed to get a bloody nose, and blood was everywhere. I'm talking all over this lovely lady's face, all over her lips. It was coming out of her mouth. She looked like she took a bite of raw meat. I quickly apologized and drove off. Now I'm dating her. Dude, you had the arousal nosebleed. During my literal first kiss ever, I had absolutely not clue what I was doing, and just kinda pressed my lips onto hers without actually moving them in the slightest. It was weird as hell, and I'm sure turned her off pretty quickly. I still cringe thinking about that one. I remember this very vividly. We were just from having dinner and we were walking to her place. Everything was going splendidly, and the date was perfect. Once we reached to her apartment, I went in for the kill. The kiss was splendid, but suddenly she let out a small fart. She was so embarrassed her cheeks were turning red. I looked around and saw there was no one. I simply told her, well, you can just let it all out. If anyone asks, I'll gladly say it's me. She dragged me into her house. She rushed into her bathroom and let out a huge one. Suffice to say, nothing happened after that. It was a good 1 year after that. Picture this. It's my boyfriend's 20th birthday, February 22nd, 2018, and at this point, we've been together for only 9 months. The day is going great. We are chilling, mostly playing the Switch, watching South Park, just shooting the shit. Mid-afternoon rolls around, and both of us are super horny, because, you know, birthday sex is mandatory this early in the relationship. I should mention, I have a lengthy and very complex medical history, that of which now requires me to administer 750 milliliters fleet enemas to clear out my bowels every other day. Well, the day of the big poo fell on the morning of his birthday, and to allow for me to do this, he went to the gym to kill some time. Fast forward to us initiating sexy time. I demand him to sit down in his desk chair. It's one of those big comfy office chairs with wheels, and I had always fantasized about riding him on this very piece of furniture. Midway through the act, we are making out. It's super hot and heavy, you get the idea. I'm close to finishing, when he goes completely still. So I ask in a panic, what is it? I hop off his lap, and quickly follow his horrified gaze down to his leg, then his foot, and finally the ground. There sits a brown wet streak of my poo, and at the end of it, just a wet dollop that has clearly already been absorbed into the fibers of the carpet. I'm in utter disbelief. Soon after, embarrassment follows, so I scurry off to his bathroom, where I proceed to lock myself in for roughly an hour. Meanwhile, he is quietly knocking on the door, begging with me to come out. In the end, he was completely understanding of what happened. He kept insisting it didn't change at all how attractive I'm to him, and that he still loved me just the same. Even now, we often joke about it, and reminisce on that time I shat on my boyfriend on his birthday. Next week, we are celebrating his 22nd birthday together, and I just can't wait for him to see what surprise I have in store for him this year. Wow, I can't believe you've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content. If you will not do it, you will barf when you will kiss someone.